Shalom Israel. I want to begin this podcast today on a somber, solemn, sacred note by extending my deepest condolences to many of the Jewish communities who have been affected by this series of violent events across the United States and other locations around the world. I'm particularly worried that I'm particularly worried about the knife attack that occurred at the home of a rabbi as they were lighting the Hanukkah, candles, and then another attack at a kosher shop, and then several other attacks that have not been reported, and it's very, very disheartening that many of the people who have been accused of these attacks have never been part of the norm. They have not been the usual suspects who have the proclivity and predilection to attack Jews. These are people who have also been be it on the fringes, have been part of the Jewish community in one way, shape, or form. So my heart goes out to all the families that have been affected. This podcast today is going to revolve around the different commandments that Jews are expected to observe or abide by. And I'm not making this video to educate the major mainstream dominant Jewish cultures and communities, but this video is an attempt to increase the resources that are lacking in the Igbo Jewish community, because most of our people are re-emerging or returning Jews. We're not converts, we're returning. Because our forefathers, fled Jerusalem during the fall of the first and second temple and ended up in the present southeast of Nigeria. And I've made this point clear. There's anecdotal evidence as far as the empirical anthropological evidence to support this call and claim of the Igbos. So, as a prominent member of the Igbo Jewish community and one of the administrators of the Igbo Jewish Forum on social media, it is my duty from time to time to share some of the knowledge that I've acquired, some of the warehouse of insights, and scholarship that I've been able to garner over space and time. So today I'm going to be talking about the mitzvah. There are two mitzvot, one mitzvah, two mitzvah. So the Hebrew linguistic pattern does not mimic nor follow the Latin linguistic pattern. In Latin, most of the plurals end with an S, but in Hebrew, I have observed most of the plural end with a T. Mitzvah, mitzvot, keeper, kippur, kippot, keeper, one keeper, two kippot, like that. So, one mitzvah, two mitzvot. That's one commandment, two commandments. So, because mitzvah is a commandment. So, one of the commandments is the talit mitzvah. Of course, the talit is quite ubiquitous around Jewish communities during Shabbat services and other observances. But we Igbo Jews just adorn the talit without being mindful of some of the rites, rituals, and routines that follow the proper adornment of the talit. This video is not an attempt to claim to be in a pure, pious, pristine place. I have flaws, foibles, and fault lines that people can interrogate. But I am attempting to share or approximate whatever knowledge I have, and then I've observed over the space and time of my research that different Jewish communities have their different ways of observing some of these commandments or mitzvot, even though at day's end many of these commandments or mitzvot joined at the hip. There's not much difference that separates them. But I found out there is a thin line that actually, mediates some of these commandments. So, and I've observed too that Igbo Jews are also making their own rules or attempting to incorporate some of their own ideas and practices into the long-standing Jewish practices. To give a concrete example, I have seen that many Igbo Jews adorn white outfit, white garments when they go to synagogues and other or the shul or other spaces of worship. And this is not common amongst mainstream major dominant Jewish communities. So to that extent, you can see that Jewish communities are evolving in their own unique ways in an attempt to serve Hashem in the way they deem fit. So before we adorn the talit, and I've attempted to condition myself. I attempted to condition myself before making this video because I didn't want to start struggling with some of these artifacts. Otherwise, we'll probably not leave this place in 3 days. So I decided to just condition myself. For example, I had done the talit first, so that I can just walk Igbo Jews through some of the routines, some of the rites, and some of the rituals involved in adorning the talit. For example, before you adorn the talit, you want to make a visual check to ensure that the knots are intact, that the knots are kosher. Kosher is just a Hebrew word meaning that it is acceptable. The talit is within the normative Jewish ideals and practices. So you gotta make sure that those knots are intact, the cords are intact, and stuff like that, and then make sure that everything that makes a talit kosher is on the talit, and then you are done your talit, and as you are after adorning your talit, you're gonna speak a blessing over yourself. I have seen some Jewish communities that tend to kiss. They might kiss the fringes of the talit as part of their rituals, and other Jewish communities may skip this particular ritual. But so it could be Sephardic, it could be Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Orthodox, and different Jewish communities have their own different ways of worship. So and then I've observed that these Mitzvot, or these commandments, are in ascending order. There is an ascent, which is like earlier. I'm not sure if one has a superiority over the other, but there tends to be a linear format in the way these artifacts, these Jewish relics are adorned. To give a concrete example, the talit will be adorned first before the tefillin, and then before the arm tefillin, and then before the head tefillin, and I'm going to go into all of that. So under each one, you speak a blessing. To give a concrete example, as you adorn the talit, you got to speak a blessing. And I'm going to speak the blessing to the best of my ability. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kida Shanu Miz Votav Zivanu Lahad Taif Bi Zisit, which is translated into, "Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to enwrap ourselves in zisit." So that's the blessing you're gonna speak after you have donned the talit. I have seen, and this makes a lot of sense, that people tend to secure the extra part of the talit under their armpit, so because it's likely to get in the way. Even though sometimes when you move your arm, it tends to unravel. But it's part of the ritual to make visible some of the other artifacts and relics of Jewish worship by ensuring that the talit is secured under the armpit. Now we're going to go to the arm, the tefillin phylactery. The arm tefillin is placed so that it can face the heart, because Judaism has to do with emotions, our sentiments and emotion toward Hashem. So that's why it's positioned like this. Sometimes it might unravel, but the whole idea is to approximate the position of the tefillin, especially the arm tefillin, to face the heart. I've already attempted to wrap it around my arm, and what informed this part of this mitzvah, singular mitzvah, is I read from a certain individual who posted something on Facebook, attempting to condemn, castigate, criticize Igbo Jews, and in his own report that some of the Igbos who were in that video during a Shabbat service said that they don't even know how to tie the tefillin. I don't begrudge him, for making that observation, because these are the kind of things we want, so that it can provoke, conversation. It can also galvanize us into becoming better Jews, because we've not practiced this for thousands of years, ever since our forefathers left Jerusalem after the fall of the first and second temples. So our ancestors didn't get a chance to teach our other ancestors. So we're learning on our own, using social media, interacting with other Jews, like my therapist, my doctor, my chiropractor doctor is a Russian Jew. I was with him just a few hours ago when I went for therapy, because somebody struck my vehicle and then injured me in the back, so I had to go for therapy, and he's doing a good job. So every time we try to catch up about Jewish rites, rituals, and routines, in his own self-reporting, he said he doesn't even know half as much as I know, and that he's impressed by my penchant to learn these Jewish ideas and practices. So you can see even somebody from the mainstream major dominant Jewish community is telling me, an Igbo Jew, that he can tell me that I know much more than he does know. So we're making progress. So I thought that gentleman's post, and I'm saying gentleman because it's not clear whether he's a male or female, but reading some of the some of the words, the masculine, I saw some masculine participles in his post, and that led me to conclude that he's a male. He was criticizing, being overtly critical of Igbo Jews, that one of them doesn't even know how to tie the tefillin, and there were so many of them with the tefillin. So if he identified one person out of so many that didn't know how to tie tefillin, that in itself is an accomplishment. If there were 10 Igbo Jews and only one has room for improvement in the way he perhaps is tefillin, so we're making progress. But so I started practicing myself. I don't know how to tie the tefillin, so I started practicing how to tie the tefillin. And then my thinking is that even if I don't tie it, 100% the way it is tied by mainstream major dominant Jewish communities, at least an approximation can show the world that we're making efforts to be better Jews. So I watched a couple of videos and I started tying this. This is not an easy feat, okay? So those people who demonstrated how to tie the tefillin on video have been doing this since their existence. So it was seamless. But for me, learning how to tie it, this is the approximation. This is what I'm able to come up with. But at least I was able to tie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There has to be 7, for lack of better word, 7 windings. You gotta wind it around 7 times on your arm. beginning from here down. So I tied it 7 times. I did have some problems in the final, in the final analysis. Just to wrap it up, the culminating activity, I did have some problems because I'm still learning. But I bet you the next time I'm gonna come to showcase some of the Mitzvot, of Jewish life. I'm gonna perfect this ritual. But I give myself kudos for at least attempting to try. And I'm not coming on social media to teach you that to tell the world that I am perfect in this, but I have been able to approximate it. So that is one aspect of the misfah. This is a very important misfah, or one of the Mitzvot that Jews are expected to abide by or adhere to. Now, after what I heard is that the arm tefillin is not concluded until the head tefillin is positioned in between the eyes, or where the hairline used to be. I looked at a 1973 picture that I took when my father took me to middle school for the first time. I saw that my hairline was here, right where this tefillin is positioned. But over the years, it started to recede to the back of my head. So yes, this is where my hairline used to be, and that's where I positioned this head tefillin. It's only when the head tefillin is balanced on the forehead that the arm tefillin can now be concluded. But I attempted to finish everything because I'm not in a synagogue, so I'm not in a worship space. So this is just a demonstration video, because if I have to be performing this while I'm doing the video, we'll probably not live here in 1 week. So I decided to just approximate it to the best of my ability. It looks all disorganized. It started unraveling, but when I finished it initially, before I started making this video, it wasn't tight, but over time it started unraveling. And something tells me too that when mainstream major dominant Jewish communities go to the synagogue, I can bet you that 1 or 2 tefillins will be unraveling or shifting out of his original position, because this is technology. You gotta know how to do it, But I think over space and time, as I continue to practice, I am going to make this a perfect tefillin, because Socrates once said that virtue is a habitual practice perfected over space and time. Virtue is a habitual practice perfected over space and time. So once I continue to practice this virtue of Jewish life, I'm going to perfect it. So please don't condemn me or try to castigate, demonize, demean, or denigrate or deprecate me just for making an attempt. Okay, so before the arm tefillin is finally settled or finally wrapped, the head tefillin will be positioned where the forehead used to be, and then it has two straps. The shorter strap is gonna be positioned on the left part, and then the longer one on the right part. And then it's important that nothing gets in the way of the tefillin. It has to balance on the skin. So that's why I had to fold my my traditional outfit backward, so that it doesn't make contact with the box that contains the sacred Torah scroll. So this is not just a decorative piece. It contains very sacred, solemn, sanctified Torah scroll. I think this one has 4 chambers containing the important blessings or important quotations from the Jewish Torah. The same thing with this one too. It contains very important Torah scrolls. So it's not like a decorative, a showboat piece. It has its religious significance. So I wanted to attempt to showcase some of the things I've been learning. We're not sleeping. We're making an attempt to learn some of these rites, rituals, and routines that guide Jewish life. The next oh, by the way, and it comes with this box, with they call it the shin, the letter shin. It has some Jewish letters inscribed on them, and then this one also came with a mirror. It came with a mirror, so this mirror is gonna, in a sense, help you look at the hair teflon to make sure it's properly balanced in between your eyes or where the hair line used to be. So it has this mirror. This is a box that contains one of the Torah scrolls, and then the other box is over there too. Another issue that I'd like to address today is the attacks that Jews have been facing. I did mention it in the beginning of my video. The upsurge in the attacks, and most of which have very lethal consequences, is something that different governments and security agencies need to start coming to terms with, because we're no longer in Nazi Germany or other spaces where Jews were attacked capriciously. I don't know what the issue is, that all of a sudden there is a spike and upsurge in the number of anti-Semitic events or incidents around the world. People who also claim to be part of the seeds of Abraham, they claim to be part of the Hebrew lineage, are the ones now more than ever before attacking Jews in Hanukkah lighting events, in kosher shops. I read that some Jewish women were slapped around and harassed and injured. They ended up in the hospital, on the train stations. I watched this video where this individual was just harassing an elderly Jewish man who was wearing a kippah. And I used to wear the kippah. I went to my doctor's office. I donned the kippah because it's part of my heritage. So now I keep looking over my shoulder. Even though I have not been harassed, nobody has done anything that is that I can consider inimical and hostile to my safety. On the contrary, I have seen a lot of people say, "Oh man, yeah, that's the spirit. We are the original Jews. We are Jews. The other ones are not." Even though I don't share in that kind of a sentiment, but I have seen people walk up to me and say, "Look, brother, keep wearing your kippah, keep showcasing. You're an Igbo guy from Nigeria." I say, "Yes, okay, I know. You guys are part of the seed of Israel." Nobody has spoken to me in a way that is hostile and inimical, but that doesn't mean some people don't have their animosity and animus, toward one whose religion is neither Christianity nor Islam or the other religious communities. So this is something that that will call for a renewed effort on part of security, and I know they are doing their best to stem the tide of anti-Semitism, but they cannot be all over the place. But it's important to maybe review the books, the laws, and the law books, to make sure that these individuals who attack Jews don't just get a slap on the wrist. This is a religious hate. These are hate hate mongers. These are individuals who don't like people who are a little different. I don't know why everybody should be Christian or part of the other religions. Jews are in the minority. Um, why can't you just leave us alone so that we can practice the uh, the religion of our forefathers, the religion of our ancestors? So this is beginning to become real problematic in a way that when one steps out of the house, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to come back, dead or alive. I want to come back alive every day. So, and then the curious thing is that these attacks are happening in places where one would think that we may have gone past that era, where people are concerned about what religion you belong to. The society has become so sophisticated that religion should be the list of things that people should worry about. People should worry about how to build more schools, how to build more hospitals, how to build more infrastructures, how we can reduce criminality and other acts of violence. People shouldn't be worried about what synagogue I go to or what religious space that I want to go and worship in. This is something that is really, really affecting the psychology of a lot of Jews, because this is a significant source of stress for adherents of Judaism, because it does seem to me that Jews are targeted more than Christians or members of other religious communities. And nobody has been able to explain to me the reason why. I mean, people have always made the argument that, the Jews control the world. They control the financial institutions, the movie industry, the book publishing, the banks, the Wall Street, the insurance companies. Well, I have also seen Jews that are catching hell. I have seen those that are struggling. Yeah, it's not I mean, there are some of them who have worked very hard to get a grip on life, but that doesn't mean that's the story across the board. Even in the Bible, Christ said the poor will always remain amongst you. So Jesus Christ said it in one of those New Testament texts. The poor will always remain amongst you, and he was addressing the Jews. So it's not true that every Jewish individual, particularly the Anglo-Saxon Jews, of course, I know when people are talking about Jews, they don't even consider Igbo Jews as part of the equation, because they don't believe that we belong to the seed of Abraham. So somebody has called me out as a fake, as a fake Jew or a Jew wannabe, as an impostor, as somebody who just wants to clothe himself in a borrowed garb or borrowed garment. And I'm saying to that individual, you don't know me, you don't know my lineage, you don't know my background. Go and do some research about Igbos. And then a lot of people have not heard about Igbo Jews. When it comes to black Jews, they only know about the Ethiopian Jews, because their story was captured in the Bible. Because somebody wrote the Bible, and then from that point, the Ethiopians many Ethiopians, especially from the Falasha community, are considered Jews. And I'm not denouncing them or questioning the legitimacy of their Jewish heritage. They are Jews like Igbos. It's just that our ancestors didn't begin this awareness campaign on time to educate the broader Jewish community that, hey, we are part of the house of Israel. So it's incumbent on us as their offspring to create this awareness, create this visibility and exposure about our being part of the house of the seed of Abraham. And those individuals who have been calling me fake Jew, an impostor, a Jew wannabe, you don't know me. So stop castigating me. Stop, talking about me because you don't know me. I know what I am. I know my lineage. And then if somebody is not Jewish by lineage or by heritage, I don't think you want to just start claiming a religion that is likely to affect your psychology. Look at the level of, look at the intense acrimony against Jews. It's counterintuitive if you're not part of the Jewish community for you to walk right into a space that you're likely to be harmed in one way, shape, or form. So, that's the way I want people to look at it. And then it's not like anybody's writing a check for you, just because you're Jewish, somebody writes a check for you or gives you opportunity. No, we Igbos look for opportunities for ourselves. That's why we're all over the world. So, the next video I'm going to make is about the complicated, membership requirements in Judaism. It's going to be a full-fledged video that I'm going to make because as I was talking with my doctor, he's a Russian Jew. He was telling me that there are so many Jewish communities that I don't even know about that have not been embraced by the broader Jewish community. And he told me about some Tatars in Crimea. I think they're called the Krimchaks, Krymchaks. I probably didn't get the name right, but the Krimchaks. They have a Jewish roots, but the broader Jewish community has not accepted them. And these are Jews. And then the Samaritans who live in Israel. There are also Jewish communities that have not been accepted by the broader Jewish community. Similarly, the Igbo Jews have not been accepted. The case of the Lemba Jews, whose DNA were sampled and compared against the dominant Jewish community, and it was found out that these were not just Jews; they were Cohen. They were members of the Levites, of the members of the Kohanim. Those were priests, and then their case has already been consigned to the margins. They are no longer being heard of. So we Igbo Jews don't want that kind of fate to befall us. We must continue to project our Jewish identity, ideals, and ideologies. We must continue to project. We must continue to bring visibility to our cause and claims of being part of the Jewish community. Over time, somebody's going to get tired and say, hey, you know what? We need to assimilate these guys. We need to embrace them as our brothers. And to the credit, in all fairness, some Anglo-Saxon Jews are ecstatic. They are very, very jubilant to see us as part of the seed of Abraham. But a lot of work needs to be done. We need to continue to push. We need to continue to project. We need to continue to tell our stories. Like Professor Remy Lona has been writing a lot of books. He just wrote one that came out, thereby reinforcing and solidifying our, cause and claims of being part of the Jewish community. So the next video, I don't really make videos a lot, except if I get some inspiration or Hashem talks to me as a Kohanim myself. Now I'm Cohen, Austin Cohen Itiba. When Hashem talks to me, then I'll be able to share some of my reflections. But I just wanted to showcase what I've been able to learn over space and time regarding some of the mitzvot that Jews are expected to perform as part of the commandments of Judaism. Until I come your way again, this is your friend and a member of the Igbo Jewish Forum, bringing you very critical, pertinent information. Shalom.